The day my parents handed me the keys to a crumbling, forgotten house on the outskirts of Cedar Grove, Ohio, I knew I had just been written out of their version of the American dream. It was late September. The sky hung low and gray, matching the peeling paint on the sagging porch in front of me. My younger sister, Emily Parker, stood across town that same afternoon inside a luxury high-rise apartment in downtown Columbus. Floor-to-ceiling windows, polished marble counters, a balcony overlooking the skyline, and me. I stood in front of a house that looked like it had been abandoned since the 1970s. The siding was cracked, the roof dipped in the middle. One of the front windows was boarded up with warped plywood. The mailbox hung crooked like it had given up trying to hold on. Our parents, Richard and Linda Parker, called it equal support. Emily had always been their golden child, straight A student, cheer captain. The one who smiled in family photos without being asked. I was the quiet one, the stubborn one, the one who left home at 18 and came back with dirt under my nails and big ideas about starting my own construction business. When Dad handed me the keys, he said it would build character. When Mom hugged Emily, she said the apartment was an investment in her future. The house I received sat on 2 acres of land just outside Cedar Grove, a small town surrounded by farmland and old industrial warehouses. No one had lived there in nearly 15 years. Dad had inherited it from a distant uncle and never bothered to fix it up. It felt less like a gift and more like a punishment. But I did not complain. Instead, I rolled up my sleeves. The first night inside that house, I slept on a mattress on the floor in the only room without water damage. Wine slipped through cracks in the window frames. I could hear mice scratching behind the walls. The place smelled like dust, old wood, and forgotten time. Most people would have sold it. I saw something else: land, space, possibility. The foundation was strong. I could tell the moment I crawled beneath the house with a flashlight. The beams were solid oak. The land stretched further back than I expected, opening into a clearing that faced west. Sunset poured gold over the property like it had been waiting years for someone to notice it. So I started rebuilding. I fixed the roof first, then the plumbing. I replaced the wiring. Week after week, I worked from sunrise until long after dark. I used savings from small contracting jobs in Columbus. I recycled materials. I negotiated discounts. I learned to stretch every dollar like it was made of rubber. Neighbors drove by slowly, curious. Some thought I was crazy, others offered help. An old farmer named Mr. Harold Thompson brought me fresh lemonade during the hottest days of summer. He told me the land used to be valuable farmland before zoning laws changed decades ago. That word stayed with me. Valuable. By spring, the house no longer looked abandoned. I painted it a clean white with charcoal shutters. I rebuilt the porch with cedar planks. I landscaped the front yard, planted maple trees along the driveway, and installed solar panels on the roof. Inside, I transformed it completely. Open floor plan, hardwood floors, modern kitchen, stone fireplace. Large windows facing the sunset clearing, but I did not stop there. The 2 acres behind the house became my real project. I cleared the brush and leveled part of the land. I built a detached workshop in the back corner and converted half of it into a rental studio space. Cedar Grove had recently approved a new highway extension that would connect directly to Columbus within 20 minutes. That highway would run less than a mile from my property. I discovered that detail by accident while reviewing county zoning maps online. Something clicked in my mind. If that highway finished on schedule, land values would triple. I kept that information to myself. 16 months after I first stepped into that broken house, it no longer looked like a mistake. It looked like a masterpiece, a modern farmhouse sitting on prime land, minutes away from a future highway exit. One evening in late May, my parents came to visit for the first time since handing me the keys. Mom stepped out of Dad's SUV and froze. Dad removed his sunglasses slowly, as if he were adjusting to a different reality. Emily stood behind them, arms crossed, her expression tight. "This is the wrong address," Mom whispered. "No," I said calmly, "same house, just fixed." They walked through the front door in silence. Mom ran her fingers along the quartz kitchen counter. Dad examined the exposed beams I had restored in the living room ceiling. "You did all this yourself?" he asked. "Mostly. I showed them the back property last. The workshop, the leveled clearing, the wide stretch of open land leading toward the tree line." Dad's expression changed when I mentioned the upcoming highway expansion. "How do you know about that?" he asked. "Public records," I replied. That night, They left quieter than they had arrived. 3 weeks later, everything changed. Mom showed up unannounced on a Thursday morning. Her face was tight, her lips pressed into a thin line. "We need to talk," she said. I invited her inside. She did not sit down. "Your father and I have been thinking, we made a mistake." I waited. "This house was never meant to become what you turned it into. It was supposed to be temporary for you. We have decided we are taking it back. It now belongs to Emily. She needs stability. You have 48 hours to move out." For a moment, I thought I misheard her. "You gave it to me," I said quietly. "It was never legally transferred fully," she replied. "We kept it under our name for tax reasons." My chest tightened, but I did not panic. "Emily will be here Saturday with her boxes. Please do not make this difficult." When she left, I stood alone in the living room I built with my own hands. 48 hours. I looked out toward the back clearing where the sun dipped behind the trees. They thought they were taking a house. They had no idea what they were really standing on. And when Emily arrived that Saturday afternoon with a moving truck behind her, smiling like she had finally won something she believed she deserved, her face turned pale at the scene she saw waiting for her in the driveway. Saturday arrived with heavy clouds hanging low over Cedar Grove. I woke up before sunrise, not to pack, but to prepare. By noon, a white moving truck rolled down the gravel driveway. Emily stepped out first, dressed neatly, holding a clipboard like she already owned everything in sight. Mom and Dad followed behind her, stiff and expectant. But something was different. The for sale sign they expected to remove was gone. Instead, a clean metal sign stood at the edge of the property near the road. "Future site of Cedar Grove Marketplace. Commercial development approved." Emily frowned. "What is that?" she asked. Before I could answer, two black SUVs pulled in behind their truck. A man in a navy suit stepped out, followed by a woman holding a folder thick with documents. "Good afternoon, Mr. Parker," the man said, shaking my hand. "We are ready to finalize the closing whenever you are." Mom's face drained of color. "Closing," she whispered. I nodded calmly. 3 months ago, after discovering the highway expansion and the zoning change from residential to commercial, I had hired an attorney. Since the property was never legally transferred to me, yes, it remained under my parents' name. But every renovation permit, every structural improvement, every land development filing had my name attached. And under Ohio law, I had filed a mechanic's lien on the property for the full value of improvements. The land had been appraised 2 weeks earlier. For $0.8 million, Dad looked like he could not breathe. "You sold it," he said slowly. "I did not sell it, I developed it." The commercial investors standing beside me were purchasing the land for a future retail complex once the highway opened next year. My workshop in the back had already been converted into a temporary leasing office. The clearing would become parking space. The house itself would serve as an administrative building before demolition. Emily's clipboard slipped from her hand. "But this is my house," she said weakly. "No," I replied gently. "It was never about the house. It was about the land." Silence settled over all of us. The wind moved softly through the maple trees I planted. Mom stepped forward, her voice shaking. "We were trying to help Emily. She needed security." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "And what did you think I needed?" She had no answer. The suited man cleared his throat politely and extended the paperwork. My parents had 2 options. Either allow the sale and receive their portion after my legally protected lien was paid in full, or refuse and face a court battle they would almost certainly lose. Dad signed first. Mom could barely hold the pen. When the documents were finished, the man shook my hand again. "Congratulations, Mr. Parker. This will change your life." But my eyes were not on him. They were on my family. Emily looked smaller than I had ever seen her, not angry, just stunned. The golden child had never imagined losing. I walked toward her. "I never wanted to take anything from you," I said quietly. "I just wanted a chance to build something of my own." She looked at the house, then at the land stretching behind it. "I did not know," she whispered. "I know." As the investors drove away, the moving truck reversed slowly out of the driveway, empty. My parents left without saying much. Regret hung heavier than the clouds above us. That evening, I stood one last time on the porch I rebuilt with my own hands. The sun broke through the gray sky just before setting, spilling gold across the land, the same land they thought was worthless. They gave me something broken. I turned it into freedom. And as the first construction survey flags were planted in the soil, I realized something that had nothing to do with money. They tried to give my sister security, but in the end, the old, dilapidated house they handed me gave me something far greater. It gave me proof that being underestimated is sometimes the strongest foundation of all.